Hello Enchanted ones, and welcome back. Today, join me as I make 4 DIYs for spring and Ostara, each one inspired by nature's uplifting spring energy in the air. So sit back, relax, and step into the enchanted woods with me. Today I ventured to the fairies' den, as at the moment this place holds so many secrets, but when you look closer, you'll be able to see those secrets clear as day. Spring is starting. Hello Enchanted ones, and welcome back. Today I'm in the woods and I'm in the fairies' den. Now, if you didn't see my video last week, I'm really excited because the fairies' den has been showing some really early signs of spring, and I'm just so eager to use my inspiration that I've got. So I thought I would make over my home with the inspiration from the woods at the moment. I was in the woods the other day, and what is so magical at the moment is not only the catkins coming through, but on the floor of the forest, if you pick up leaves, you'll see tiny sprouts forming, and the green that they are growing, that type of green, the new growth, there's something about it that's just the most purest green of all, and it's just this limey baby green. I can't really put my finger on it, but that is the green that I aim to fill my house with this year. Last year I filled it with blossom, and although I loved that, it wasn't really me. I am a green person. I'm not really a pink kind of person. You can probably tell that. But there's something about the woods that makes me just feel at the moment that the birds have been woken up again, but not only the birds, the fairies have woken up again, and it's now their spring duty time, and I can just, in my mind's eye, visualize them everywhere, hard at work, getting the flowers growing and getting spring to start. So that's why my very first DIY is going to be a beautiful spring fairy. No matter what season I find myself in, I always make the time to decorate my home. It's something that helps me to connect myself with the outside, the colours and the energy that each season radiates. I have often found that I haven't connected to the typical spring decor that I find in shops, like fluffy bunnies and multicoloured eggs, because if I did buy those things, I'd often just paint them to be my enchanted aesthetic. So I make my decor the most enchanted and personalised for me. Sometimes all I need is a stick, a piece of string, and some flowers to make a decoration that fits. And that's exactly how I'm going to make my spring fairies, as they truly are a spring breeze to make. All you'll need is a piece of fabric. I chose this sheer green fabric to be my fairy's spring colour. Some string or ribbon. I fell in love with this leaf ribbon I found, small fir cones or any small nature object you'd like to choose for your fairy's head, a small stick and some thread to hang them up. I first drew around a small circular item on the fabric and then cut this out. I cut 2 small slits in the middle of the fabric. This will be to thread through the stick you'll use for the arms. I then pinched the piece of fabric below the arms together and tied a piece of ribbon around the middle to make the skirt. The leftover dangling ribbon will now become a part of my fairy's dress at the back, so I turned this over and worked on her head. For this, I simply stuck on a small fir cone with a glue gun. I then snapped her arms to be an appropriate length, and it really is as simple as that. My spring fairy was born. I then had to make more, each one taking about 2 minutes to make. As I didn't just envision one fairy within the woods, I envisioned thousands of them, all helping to get the spring duties done, clearing up after the winter, helping the bulbs to sprout, and just giving the woods a spring clean of fresh new energy. There was a little bit of an argument with who looked after the babies, but I sorted that out. The fairies will be to hang upon my tree, so I will be filled with the joy of spring each time I look at them. Every time I'm in the woods, I always check up on the buds, and I know it's not time for them to open yet, but it's just so lovely seeing them burst and bulge, and you just know they're going to come soon, they're going to open, and when they do, it's just an explosion of life. It's just given me an idea to not only decorate my tree with the fairies, but the beautiful spring leaves that are to come in that glorious green colour. And for that, I'm going to use my new favourite thing, salt dough. Salt dough is so easy to make, and I highly recommend it for a quick, fun DIY. All you'll need is 1.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of water, and 1/2 cup of ground salt. I mixed it all together until it became dough, and it really is as simple as that. I then rolled it out to be quite thin, about 1/2 centimetre in thickness, as I have bought these cutters for the leaves that held all the details and the print of the beautiful leaves that were to come. So I stamped, and there it was, what I had been longing to see for quite some time. Beautiful spring leaf. I placed them onto a line baking tray and kept rolling and stamping to make the use out of every single piece of dough, creating quite a lot of leaves. And then using a skewer, I made little holes at the top of each leaf, as I'll be wiring them up onto my tree. I then put them in a low temperature oven for around 2 hours, turning them over and re-piercing the holes in them halfway as the dough swells up a little. Once the leaves were dry, it was time to paint them, and I wanted to paint them that glorious spring green colour I had seen in the woods. So improvising, I used a vibrant green, white and mustard yellow, and it was just the right colour. I painted each leaf, and then I added a little brown to the colour to make a darker version to give the leaves more depth. Once dry, I cut out small pieces of wire and wired all of the leaves up, and then placed them onto my tree. And there it was, my vision of the spring leaves. But there are some things that aren't only a vision at the moment. Some things in the woods are very obvious indeed. Even though I can only visualise what the fairies and what the leaves look like this time of year, there is one thing that is obvious for inspiration this time in the woods, and it is the birds. and the sheer sound of them. Every morning at 5 a.m. I am woken up by the ridiculous sounds of the birds. They are going absolutely nuts this time of year because obviously it's mating season, and to honour them this time of year I'm going to do something on this walk that is really fun. I'm going to think like a bird. I want to find little things, little sticks, little debris, and then I'm going to craft a nest for my dining room table centerpiece. So let's think like a bird together. So I did some Lara Crofting within the woods and found all kinds of things a bird would potentially want for their nest. By the little brook, I found all sorts of dead sticks that had blown down and had tangled within other trees. Leaves from the autumn, beautifully skeletonized and ready to be a cushion for the nest, and just little pieces of nature that were waiting to decompose now will serve a new purpose within my home. I then found this truly enchanted tree stump, and I took a little moss, nature's soft blanket, for the little eggs in the middle of the nest, and I piled up all of my items ready to be taken home. Just before I was about to leave the woods, the sun was setting on another day, and the birds really had something to say about it. It was mesmerizing, like they were putting on a show for me and for us. It felt magical, and I feel the birdsong is truly the music of spring. Back home, and now it was time to make my nest. I first got a piece of cardboard that I cut into a circle and snapped the larger sticks to be placed around the edge. Birds use mud to stick their nests together, but I am using my trusty glue gun. After I got the first layer, I then kept building up the shape of the nest, layering more twigs on top, but also building the shape inside and around to cover up any exposed cardboard. This is really simple to do, and remember, the more imperfect you make it, the more perfect it will look. I glued everything down until I had a beautiful nest. I filled the nest with a blanket of moss, making sure it will be all snugly, and then added the little pieces of nature on and around to decorate it further. I placed this upon my dining room table, but it was missing something. But what? Yes, eggs. I am to use natural dyes to make over my eggs, but first I needed to empty them. To do this, I pierced a hole in either side, making the bottom hole slightly larger by bending the needle upwards, and then I blew on the smaller hole of the egg. Once this was empty, I then washed it through, but you could always hard-boil your eggs or use synthetic eggs. I wanted to dye my eggs green, of course, but to do this I had to first dye them yellow, so I used turmeric to do this, adding 4 cups of water into a saucepan and then 6 tablespoons of turmeric and 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, heating the water up until the powder dissolves. I then gave my eggs a bath and waited about 10 minutes for them to dye this beautiful yellow colour, turning them over and making them go under and absorbing the dye. To turn them green, I then made a blue dye, and for this I used red cabbage. I cut it up into chunks and separated the leaves. Then placed them in a pan of again 4 cups of water and 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I then boiled this for 30 minutes, and this will turn the water a reddy purple colour, which apparently would act as a blue dye. So I dipped my eggs in for another bath, and if by magic 15 minutes later the yellow turned the beautiful green colour I was after. Now I had my eggs ready, it was time to give them a home. I was so happy with my bird's nest and the overflowing look the eggs gave it. I find that the woods will forever inspire me in different ways each year. The fairies reminding me of the little sprouts sprouting away, the leaves reminding me about what is to come, and the nest reminding me that the nature and wildlife around us can feel the energy in the air, the energy of spring. And that can help us to gain energy and rise once again. Thank you for watching Enchanted Ones, and please let me know what was your favourite below. All my love, Alwyn.